Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Dalton from the Petrol List, and it's your Monday video. Of course, we're going to be talking about some Formula One. As a matter of fact, I have, based on scientific research and millions upon millions of dollars of grant money, I have the exact reason why Formula One has decided to go with 6 rookies. We're also going to talk about Liberty Walk's Lamborghini Miura that they debuted on January 10th at the Tokyo Auto Salon. And I'm going to discuss the reason, and we're going to discuss all the automotive manufacturers that have decided to walk back their 100% electric vehicle plans for the near future. The first thing I want to talk about, let's get into this Liberty Walk. So Liberty Walk, they debuted a wide body Miura, and rumor has it, it is $2.2 million. And I want to hate it, but I can't, because that thing is absolutely gorgeous. Now, they also did a wide body version of the Ferrari F40, but get this, the F40, not quite as rare as the Miura. The F40, 1,311 were made, and rumor kind of has it that you could completely torch one of those cars, and Ferrari has enough spare parts that they continue to manufacture that you could really basically build an entirely new Ferrari F40, so essentially none of them ever disappear. I think, I don't know, maybe all you need is like the strip of metal that has the VIN number on it, and you can rebuild that into the car. That's how extensive their parts are. But the Miura, back when it debuted in 1966, it was widely regarded as one of the most beautiful cars ever made. I think actually it was the prettiest car ever made. I can't remember who said that. Somebody in the comments, please do let me know who said that. But yeah, 4-liter V12 mid-engine, 345 horsepower in 1966. That car was absolutely screaming. And it's also kind of known as the granddaddy of all supercars. You know, that classic kind of wedge shape, mid-engine, high horsepower, rowdy, and really, really good looking. It's hard to think that anybody could ever improve on that design, but I do kind of feel like Liberty Walk has. Liberty Walk is kind of the RWB for all supercars. I think maybe I have like a little graphic that kind of scrolls through their website of what all those supercars look like, but I don't know how they do it, but they continuously make supercars look even better. My gosh. Now, with the Lamborghini Miura, 768 were made. That is nearly half as many F40s, and I think Liberty Walk did a Miura not too long ago. I'm not sure if it's the same one. Maybe it's the same one. Maybe they just kind of repurposed that one. From what I understand, the original one that they put the wide body kit on, maybe about 6 years ago. From what I understand, it was a basket case. It was, ready for the heap anyway. And so they put a wide body kit. So I don't know if they redid 2 out of the 768 that were made, or if they just redid the one and kind of like upcycled their last build. But again, I can't hate it because the car is just too darned good looking. And the F40, I've seen one of those in person. Matter of fact, I photographed one of those in person, actually 2 of those in person, and just up close, the F40 is so good looking. Hard to believe Liberty Walk made it look better. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a Miura in person, but either way, Liberty Walk did a bang up job. I can't criticize it because I really like the way it looks. Now, I'm going to be biased. I don't want any Tom, Dick, or Harry to go and put a kit on a F40 or a Miura or any other super rare supercar, because there's a limited quantity left, and yeah, it's a little bit sacrilege to do that. But I think Liberty Walk is well qualified for the job. I think that tuning companies and aftermarket companies, they should, by law, they should have to have a resume to fix up those old cars like that and put body kits on them, because Liberty Walk does a good job. I'm not sure how many people could really do that to one of those Miuras. I want to talk really quickly about the list of auto manufacturers that are walking back their 100% electric vehicle plan. Ford said that they were going to be 100% electric by 2035. VW Group said 2033. GM said 2035. All of them are walking it back. Stellantis, formerly known as Chrysler, said that they're going to have 70% electric vehicles by 2030. They're walking that back. BMW said 50% by 2030. They're walking that back. Mercedes said fully electric by 2030. They are walking that back. Honda said 2040, walking it back. Nissan 2030, they're walking it back. Then again, who knows if Nissan is really going to be here or not. I think they're merging with Mitsubishi and Honda, and they're still going to dabble in the electric stuff, but they are walking back the 2030 full electric timeline. And Hyundai, who had said that they're going to go all electric by 2040, is walking it back as well. A special shout out, I don't know if it's a good shout out or a bad shout out, to Ram brand CEO, formerly Dodge CEO, Tim Kuniskis. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But he had, I think it was a little bit of an awkward statement on Americans preferring their Ram trucks with V8s instead of twin turbo V6s, or twin turbo straight sixes. So when he was asked, is the Hemi V8 engine coming back, the Ram CEO said, honestly, the bigger issue is not Hemi versus T6, the turbo 6. The bigger issue is we took away a fundamental American thing. Americans love freedom of choice more than anything. When you take away their freedom of choice and tell them you must take this, they revolt. Yeah, true. Whether it makes sense or not, it doesn't matter. See, that is, I think, just that little subtle dog whistle to, to stakeholders and to, I guess, other, I guess you would say, members of the elite. I don't know, because they're elite people. Elite, I don't even know how to use that word. There are folks in those positions that like gas-powered cars and hate electric cars. So I'm not really sure who he's talking to. Maybe he's kind of worried about his political, scorings or whatever. But it says, he said, whether it makes sense or not, it doesn't matter. I think it absolutely makes sense. I'll tell you why in a second. It's anti-American. You've taken my flag away. F you. That's him saying that. I don't really know what that means. It doesn't mean they're making an irrational decision. Maybe they are. Maybe they aren't. I don't know. But we as Americans, that's what we do. So, quotes that are written down from people just having conversations often don't make really, really great sense. But my take on it is, he's got to save a little bit of face for the brand. And I think he knows darned well why Americans would rather a V8 than a turbo 6 in a truck. I think it's two-part. I think, the first thing is they sound really dang nice in a pickup truck. I have a Turbo 4 in my Bronco. I don't really enjoy the way it sounds, but it's the only way that I could get a manual transmission in it. So I went with the Turbo 4. But with a pickup truck, especially a full-size one, the sound of a V8, it sounds amazing. And even if the Turbo 6 comes from the factory with more, torque and horsepower and whatnot, anybody who's ever owned a turbo car, I currently own, 2 turbo cars, knows that turbo is a whole nother piece to break that a naturally aspirated engine doesn't have. And I personally, if I was going to be working and pulling and putting, huge amounts of miles on an engine, I would rather a lesser stressed V8 engine, naturally aspirated, than a more highly stressed straight 6 with a turbo or twin turbos. There's simply more stuff to break, more stuff to replace, expensive parts. Piping and smog and emissions junk to get in the way. Just give me the V8, give me what I asked for, give me what I want, and let's just call it a day. And we don't have to sit here and have debates on whether or not it's rational. Because if we just did what's rational, not just as Americans, but I'm talking about as consumers. If we only did what was rational, we'd all live in like small, one-room homes or apartments, and we would we just wouldn't have variety. We wouldn't have artwork. We wouldn't have things that are pleasurable. We wouldn't have racing. There would be one kind of car, because all you need is something to get you from A to B. Why would you even have variety if we were just simply being rational? If we weren't emotional, art-filled, creatures, human beings, then yeah, I would completely get what old Timmy was saying. But the fact that the entire world functions on art and pleasure and want and choices and all that kind of stuff, it's very weird to me that he would bring up rational versus irrational in this case, right? Anyway, let's move on from that, and let's jump into Formula One. And like I mentioned, Formula One has 6 rookies on the grid next year. We've got Liam Lawson with Red Bull, who is 22 years old. We've got Jack Doohan, 21 years old, with Alpine. We've got Oliver Bierman, 19, with Haas. Kimi Antonelli, 18, with Mercedes. Gabriel Bertoletto, he's 20, with Sauber. And Isaac Hedjar, who is also 20, and he is going to be with V-Carb. Now, I've got a couple of reasons why I think that this transition to the younger guys is happening. I think, on the one hand, maybe we've got some questionable older racers who just needed to go, like Perez and Ricciardo, for some reason, never recovered from his time at McLaren, so he's out. We've got Bottas, who I think is still quite a viable Formula One driver. He's now, reserve driver with Mercedes. And who else did we lose? We lost Zhou, questionable skill, I would say. But I think it was kind of the domino effect. Once Ricciardo was out of there and Red Bull found that it could actually survive without him, I think they were like, hey, screw it. Screw it. Let's just put some new folks in. Let's get rid of, Perez too. Mercedes, that's been its own animal, but they now have Kimi Antonelli. And one reason that I think, just a theory, I mean, just science is what I meant to say, is the leading demographic of growth in the Formula One fan base. Yeah, you guessed it. Females 16 to 24. So Formula One drivers are now, at least in the eyes of, some of the newest demographic and some of the Formula One marketers, Formula One drivers are now the equivalent of heartthrobs of I don't know, the Backstreet Boys. The boy bands from the 80s and 90s. That's kind of what they are now, and I think that they are trying to match these young drivers with the heartstrings of the largest growing demographic that are turning into fans. Again, it's a theory. If I was a business person and I was looking at the numbers and I saw who was really getting into Formula One, I would try to go after them. I would try to go after what they want. And I don't know if it's 100% racing that this demographic is after, but I'm sure it doesn't hurt to have some young men, if you will, that are in the sport. I think it's pretty straightforward. So I think it's a bit of a mix between that. I think that there is actually a heck of a lot of talent in this new group of rookies. So definitely they're leaning on that. So there's talent, there's renewal, some fresher blood, some drivers that they can build teams around for the next 5 or 10 years. And then there is a growing demographic that perhaps they want to benefit off of. Just saying. I don't know. Well, anyway, that's been the Petrol List. How do you like the format? So in the off season, I mentioned I'm going to still talk about Formula One, which I just did, but I needed to figure out what other stuff can I talk about that's actually meaningful. So let me know what you think during the off season. If I talk about Formula One mixed with some other stories that I find interesting, do you guys like that? Is that a good idea? I mean, I can't really think of another way of doing it, to be honest, because like I said before, I'm more interested in the race than I am the backstory. But there are there are definitely some times when the backstory is the main story, and I will talk about that on Mondays, along with Lamborghinis. All right, I've been Dalton. This has been the Petrol List, and you have been great. I'm out.